You make a list. On one side, your debts; on the other, potential investments. Between them, a question that paralyzes: what comes first? The answer you choose determines whether you move forward or remain stuck in the same place for years. Most people get this decision wrong, not because they lack information, but because they misunderstand the nature of money itself. Money is not neutral. It flows in one direction or another, and when it flows toward debt, it stops multiplying. When it flows toward investments, it starts working. But here's the trap. Debt feels urgent, investment feels optional. That emotional imbalance is what keeps millions of people in financial stasis, convinced they're making the responsible choice when in reality, they're feeding a system designed to drain them slowly. The financial industry wants you confused about this. They profit when you carry debt and when you invest simultaneously. They win twice, you lose twice. The clarity you need won't come from them. It comes from understanding how money actually behaves when you're in debt versus when you're building wealth. Debt is not a neutral force. People treat debt like it's a static number on a statement. It's not. Debt is a living organism that grows, adapts, and multiplies. Every month you carry a balance. You're not just delaying payment. You're actively feeding interest that compounds against you. The longer debt exists, the more expensive it becomes, not just in dollars, but in opportunity, cost. When you have debt, especially high-interest debt, every dollar you earn is already spoken for. It's not your money, it's the bank's money, temporarily passing through your hands. You can't build wealth with borrowed time and rented cash. This is not a metaphor, it's the literal structure of how debt operates in your financial life. Low-interest debt behaves differently, but it still behaves like debt. A mortgage at 3% is not the same as a credit card at 22%, but both create obligations that limit your financial flexibility. Both take money out of your control and redirect it to someone else. The question is not whether debt is bad or good. The question is whether you can afford to carry it while trying to grow wealth. Most people can't. Investment is not magic. Investing is sold as the path to wealth, and in the long term, it is. But in the short term, it's a transfer of liquidity into assets that may or may not grow. When you invest while carrying high-interest debt, you're betting that your returns will outpace your debt cost. Sometimes that works. Most of the time it doesn't. Let's say you have $1,000. You could put it in an index fund that historically returns 7% annually. Or you could use it to pay down a credit card, charging 18%. The math is clear. Paying the debt is a guaranteed 18% return. The investment is a hopeful 7%. Yet people still choose the investment because it feels like progress. It feels like they're doing something smart. This is where financial education becomes financial manipulation. You're taught that investing is always good, that compound interest works in your favor, that time in the market beats timing the market. All of that is true when you don't have debt. When you do, those principles work against you. Compound interest on debt grows faster than compound interest on investments. You're playing a game where the house has better odds. The psychology of misplaced priority. Most people know logically that paying off debt makes sense. But logic is not what drives financial behavior. Emotion does. And emotionally, investing feels like winning. It feels like you're building something. Paying off debt feels like you're just correcting a mistake. It doesn't give you the same psychological reward. There's also the fear of missing out. Markets go up and you see people making money. And you think, if I wait to invest, I'll miss the opportunity. That fear is stronger than the certainty of debt growing in the background, so you split the difference. You pay a little on debt, invest a little, and convince yourself you're balanced. You're not. You're diluted. This split strategy is the worst of both worlds. You're not aggressive enough on debt to eliminate it quickly, and you're not consistent enough with investing to benefit from compounding. You're stuck in the middle, making minimal progress on both fronts, while time, the Most valuable asset you have burns away. The industry profits from your confusion. Financial institutions love when you carry debt and invest at the same time. They charge you interest on one side and collect fees on the other. Credit card companies make money. Investment platforms make money. You're treading water thinking you're swimming. They've built an entire narrative around balanced financial health. Pay your minimums, build an emergency fund, start investing early, don't wait. All of that sounds responsible. And for someone with no debt it is, but for someone with high interest debt it's a trap. It keeps you in the system longer, paying more, gaining less. The advice you get is often generic because it has to be. Financial advisors can't tell everyone to stop investing and pay off debt because that would hurt their revenue model. So they hedge, they tell you to do both, and you stay stuck. When debt comes first, if you have any debt with an interest rate above 7%, paying it off is almost always the right move before investing. This includes credit cards, personal loans, car loans, and some student loans. The return on paying off high-interest debt is immediate, guaranteed, and tax-free. No investment can reliably compete with that. Paying off debt is also a mental reset. It clears space in your mind and your budget. Once the debt is gone, every dollar you earn is truly yours. You can redirect that money toward investments without the weight of obligation dragging behind you. You're not playing defense anymore. You're playing offense. This doesn't mean you ignore long-term goals. It means you sequence them correctly. First, you stop the bleeding, then you build. Trying to build while bleeding is how people spend decades in financial mediocrity, convinced they're doing everything right. When investing comes first, there are exceptions. If your employer offers a retirement match, contribute enough to get the full match before paying extra. On debt, that's free money, and the return is immediate and unbeatable. Beyond that, the decision depends on interest rates and timelines. If your debt is low interest, say a mortgage at 3%, and you have a long investment horizon, it may make sense to invest while paying the minimum on debt. The math can work in your favor over decades. But this only applies if you have the discipline to actually invest consistently and the emotional stability to not panic during market downturns. Most people don't. Most people say they'll invest while paying debt, but then life happens. An expense comes up, the market drops, they get scared, and the plan falls apart. They end up with debt and no investment progress. The safest path is the simplest. Eliminate high-cost debt, then invest aggressively. The real cost of waiting. Every month you delay paying off debt is a month you lose to interest. Every month you delay investing is a month you lose to compounding growth. But here's the key. You can recover lost investment time. You can't recover money paid to interest. Once it's gone, it's gone. Time in debt is more expensive than time out of the market. This is the truth no one wants to say out loud because it conflicts with the start investing early mantra. That mantra is correct for people with no debt. For people with debt, it's a distraction. If you're 30 years old with $10,000 in credit card debt, paying it off in 1 year and then investing aggressively will put you ahead of someone who invested slowly while carrying that debt for 5 years. The math proves it. The emotions resist it. That's the gap you have to close. What the wealthy actually do. Wealthy people don't carry high-interest debt. They use leverage strategically, but they don't pay 18% to anyone. They understand that debt is only useful when the return on borrowed money exceeds the cost of borrowing. For most people, that condition never exists. They also don't split their focus. When they're building, they build. When they're paying something off, they eliminate it fast. They don't try to do everything at once because they understand the power of concentrated effort. One clear priority, executed fully, beats 10 half measures. This is not about income, it's about structure. Someone making 50,000 can follow the same principles as someone making 500,000. The difference is clarity of priority and the discipline to act on it. The lie of balance. You've been told to balance everything: savings, investing, debt, spending, living life. But balance is a myth sold to keep you comfortable with mediocrity. Real financial progress comes from imbalance, from temporarily sacrificing one thing to dominate another. If you're in debt, you should be imbalanced toward eliminating it. If you're debt-free, you should be imbalanced toward investing. If you're building wealth, you should be imbalanced toward growth. Trying to do everything equally means nothing gets done well. Balance feels safe. Progress feels extreme. Choose progress, the moment of decision. You can't do both well at the same time. Not really. You can pretend, you can split your money, you can tell yourself you're being responsible. But the numbers don't lie. High-interest debt will eat your potential returns, and slow, hesitant investing won't compound fast enough to matter. The right decision is the one that eliminates friction and creates momentum. For most people, that means paying off debt first, fast, completely, then investing with the same intensity they used to attack the debt. This is not the exciting answer. It's the correct one. You don't get to build wealth while feeding debt. You get to choose which system you serve. Choose the one that works for you, not the one that works for the banks. The structure of freedom. Financial freedom doesn't come from doing a little bit of everything. It comes from doing the right thing, fully, in the right order. Debt. First, then wealth. Not both, not balanced, sequential. When you eliminate debt, you eliminate the largest obstacle between you and financial autonomy. Once it's gone, every dollar you earn is a tool for growth, not a payment for past decisions. That shift changes everything. It changes how you think, how you plan, and how you move through the world. This is not about deprivation, it's about clarity. It's about refusing to accept the idea that you have to carry weight forever. You don't. You can put it down. And when you do, you'll realize how much faster you can move without it. The choice is already made. Most people never make this decision consciously. They drift into a default strategy of paying minimums and investing a little, and that drift becomes their financial life. They look up 10 years later and realize they've made no real progress on either front. You don't have to be most people. You can decide right now what comes first. You can look at your debt, your income, and your goals, and create a clear plan that prioritizes one thing over the other. You can stop pretending balance works and start executing a strategy that actually does. The question is not whether you should pay debt or invest. The question is whether you're willing to choose, because indecision is a choice too. It's the choice to stay where you are. Mind of Value doesn't promise shortcuts. We're here for the people who are ready to think clearly and act deliberately. You know the answer now. You've known it the whole time. The only question left is whether you'll act on it or keep pretending both paths work at once. One drains you, one builds you. Stop feeding the drain.